Hello, welcome to Everyday Experts. I am your host, El Poeta Gulsan, Senior Joker, Sir Joker, whichever moniker you'd like to use. Today, I'm Did Sina. My name is Did Sina cheat in the MCU match? I only do this because she didn't cheat. She did very well, and I just like to give her shat for it. And it's quite amusing to watch her get flustered and try to justify something that we both know didn't happen, but I still pretend that it did happen. But anyway, I have a very interesting young lady. Miss Sina is on the show today. She is uh, funny. She's very insightful. She's young, but she's been through a lot of stuff, a lot of things. She's in the education field, and people have questioned, oh, what's she an expert at? And I say, well, just going into a classroom every single day and dealing with COVID and Corona and dealing with parents and dealing with kids. I believe she teaches the younger kids, but don't quote me. She can explain that to us later. And she also grew up in a biracial family. So a lot of those things, singularly might be a lot for a person, but together they forge quite a unique personality and quite a unique person. Miss Sina is very interesting, very intelligent. Even though she did cheat in the MCU match, I found a quote that kind of sums up how I perceive Sina. He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at. Epictetus, a philosopher, said that. So, without further ado, Miss Sina Bigelow.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey.
Girl.
Did she cheat in the MCU match?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you have to ride for your boy Ryan Payne. I know that. I ride for him too. He is a great person. I've met him. He's really tall. He gives great hugs. That match would have been so boring if I wasn't there. It would have been very boring.
It was actually a very good match, too.
It was a lot of fun. I
want to say that between the both of you, probably only got like 4 or 5 questions wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. So, as is customary, I'm going to say hi to everybody in the chat, which is something new. Mr. Nails, sir, yes, you are still wrong, but hello.
Hi, Jimmy.
Mr. Munoz, our engineer extraordinaire. What's up, brother? Mr. Get Bent, the man, the myth, the legend. Namaste.
John Get Bent here? What's up?
Yeah. Mr. Kramer, one of my epic guests. Sexy Andrew. Hello, Sexy Andrew.
Hello, Sexy.
That's what we have right now. Everybody tuning in to find out more about the illustrious and exquisite Sina.
How worried.
I learn big words every now and then. John Get Bent messages them to me so I can practice.
Okay.
So, are you ready to take flight, Miss Bigelow?
Let's do it.
All right. First question I ask everybody. If you could be a vampire, a werewolf, a wolf, zombie, ghost, or serial killer, which would you be and why?
That's the first question you ask everybody?
I ask everybody.
Oh, Frenchie's here too. Hi, French.
Hi, French, sir.
That's
Cheers,
an
brother.
excellent question. Cheers. I have ginger ale, not grape juice. Sorry, French. I don't know. I've never really thought of myself as a mythical creature, even though I am biracial. I pretty much am a mythical creature in real life. So, unicorn wasn't an option, was it? No.
What we could do is we could have you pick your own, but I do need you to pick one of the ones. One of the things.
I think I would be a ghost just because
even
though I have a Fitbit and I have a step counter, it'd be nice to just float everywhere and to walk through walls and to go unseen or unheard. I feel like that is in some ways deep, but like not deep at the same time. And also, I'm a ghost that can mess with people, so that's always fun.
Interesting.
It's a typical joke.
You do get the ghost vibe. I do give the ghost vibes. Yeah. So you said that if you could pick your own, you would pick
a unicorn.
A unicorn. That's what you said. I'm asking.
No, I was those. Well, yeah, because unicorns are unique and
Well, what would you pick?
ginger ale burps. I've always seen myself as someone who does not quite fit in wherever she goes until I found this wonderful group of people.
Okay.
So that's just been my upbringing. So it really doesn't bother me to be different. It did when I was younger. It did a lot, but not so much these days.
Okay.
It's a work in progress, as I always am.
So since you went there and you touched on our first group of questions, what was your childhood like? What was it like growing up, Sina?
It was a trip. I think, and I have actually answered this question before in my own sessions, being in therapy and whatnot. I had a very happy childhood. I had two parents who would have given me the world if they could afford it, which they gave me everything and then some. They gave me everything that they didn't have because my parents grew up very not well off, very poor, very broke, and they worked their asses off to get where they are in their careers now and to make sure that their kids had everything and anything that they could ever need. So I think in that sense, my parents succeeded. I had a very happy childhood. I just don't think I was a very happy child. And I think that comes from growing up in a very white town where I am literally one of 3 kids in my school, which was hard. It was really difficult. And I didn't realize how much it weighed on me until I got out of that environment, until I went to college and saw how much it weighed on me and went through that. And now into adulthood, it's like my childhood did a lot to me that I'm still working on healing from, a lot. So I think that would be the best way to describe my childhood. I had a very happy childhood. I was not a very happy child. That was through no fault of my parents. Like I said, they did everything. I think that was just because of where I grew up and my upbringing and learning to best cope with being a singularity and being like a pepper on a table full of salt. You know what I mean? It was hard.
Oh, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I think there were 6 Black people in my graduating high school class.
Yep.
So things of that nature shape you profoundly as you move further in life. I think in the moment you're just kind of like, oh yeah, this is whatever. This is
you're just kind of getting through it, trying to, But after high school, especially, I realized it when I got to college, where I'm like, and now in teaching, where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be a game changer, not because of how good of a teacher I am, but because of this and this, and little brown kids are gonna look at me and be like, they can do what I can do. And the sucky thing about being a person of color is you have to work twice as hard to get half as much, and that sucks. So and that's the one thing I took from my parents was their work ethic, because they worked their asses off just to provide for us. I'm working my ass off to provide for myself and to make a better life and a better future for myself. So, yeah.
So that shaped your upbringing and, being the dot on the domino.
Yeah, I like that.
You said that it kind of made you not want to go to school.
Yeah, no, I hated school. And maybe that's probably why I'm a teacher now, so that other brown kids don't have to hate school as much as I did. Because it was the teasing and the bullying and the name calling and the very subtle racism that you experience growing up. When you don't realize what it is at the time, it just seems like basic bullying. But when you grow up and realize, a bunch of your friends were really kind of racist, it sucks. It sucks to grow up and realize your friends aren't your friends. You were the one token Black kid, and that didn't make them racist because they had a Black friend. And it's it does if you say shit like that. Come on now. So that what made me not want to go to school at all. The first Black teacher I had, I think, was in my college, and she ended up becoming my mentor, Dr. Bobby Cummings. And she was pivotal in shaping how I moved forward in my education. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad finding a mentor is very important. Finding a mentor that looks like you and can resonate with you is very important.
And what's cool is that she taught my mom and my uncle too. Like she worked with them
Oh,
when
nice.
they went to Central as well. So she has become part of our family.
Aw.
Yeah.
So it clearly resonated with you in school. How did it affect your family life? I know you had mentioned growing up in a biracial family was interesting.
Yeah, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Because I grew up around my mom's family. My mom is Vietnamese. My dad is Black.
Mm-hmm.
He was born and raised in North Carolina. So I didn't grow up around his family a lot. I grew up around a lot of my mom's family. So even though I don't look it, identified more with my Vietnamese and my Asian culture than I ever did with my Black culture. I'm still discovering my Black culture and how dope it is.
Mm-hmm.
And discovering like bits and pieces and stuff. And it was weird for me to be so definitively set with who I was as a Vietnamese person, let alone but have people tell me, be like, no, you shouldn't be that way because you're Black. You're not
Right.
Vietnamese. I'm like, no, I'm both.
Yeah.
And I feel very lucky to be both. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can cook, I make more Asian food than I do like typical Southern Creole food. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the nice thing about being cross-cultural is that I'm able to walk in both worlds and still feel more comfortable in one than I do the other. But like, even the one that I feel more comfortable, the people in that culture don't want me there. And it's the same thing with me being Black and walking in that world. I don't feel comfortable there because I'm still learning how to be comfortable there. I'm still learning how to be comfortable in my own skin, the skin that God gave me. You know what I mean? So with how I feel on the outside and how I feel on the inside, it does not really matter what world I walk in. I'm not going to be happy regardless. So I'm not going to be content. I could go into an Asian restaurant and order in Vietnamese and they would look at me like, oh, where did you learn that? I'm like, my grandma.
So you speak fluent Vietnamese or do you speak conversational Vietnamese?
Just with food stuff. I can order off a menu.
That's cool.
Because that was the stuff that was most valuable to her, was making sure that her grandkids and her kids got fed. So that is where I learned my love of food and love of cooking was from her. And I still carry that with me for the people that I cook for now, which is myself and others when they come over. So, but yeah, walking in both worlds, I'm still tiptoeing. I think I would make more of an impact if I could learn how to do both at the same time, but I'm still learning how to do that.
But I challenge you to this. Aren't you doing both of them at the same time?
Being in the classroom, I hope.
Just because you might be exposed to one more, or you might have more traditional, Asian, values or cultures. Shut up. Sorry, that was my dog.
It's okay.
Does not mean that you're not walking in both worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think what was hard for me, especially growing up, was feeling so Vietnamese, feeling so engrossed in that culture, but like being told that I shouldn't be that way by other people who, at this rate, it took me way too long for me to realize that they don't matter. It only matters what I think, and what only matters what I feel. So it took me a long time to realize that. But like, being able to feel comfortable in your own skin is something that's, after 28 years, still is something I have a hard time doing, and it's something that I've been getting better at, I think. It's taken me a while, but it's coming along.
So who kind of made you more, or who was the bigger influence on you, your mom or your dad growing up?
See, that's tough because my mom, obviously being close to her family, that had a huge impact on me growing up. But I realized going through the career that I'm, chose to go through, that I have been going through the past, my dad also had a significant impact on me as well, more so than I could ever have thought, because a lot of my mannerisms and how I talk to kids is how he talks to us. So kids.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
It looks like when I see a small child about to cut her hair with her scissors, and I instinctually go, "Don't do those to those," which is something my dad used to tell me all the time. Or like when, I get corrected, or I do something, or like I say something that I meant to say in a different way, and I just kind of like say, kind of like giving up, like, I don't know, I'm not from around here, which is something my dad used to say a lot whenever we corrected his English, because his accent, I guess, is still pretty somewhat strong, having grown up in the South. So he would always say, well, I don't know, I wasn't born here, I'm not from around here. And I say that a lot, often as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, him being a teacher, though, like, and realizing how many kids he impacted and how many kids I'm going to impact.
Going to?
Going to? Yeah.
Aren't you student teaching?
Yeah.
Isn't this like your second or third year student teaching?
No, first year, but I'm done in 2 weeks.
Okay.
That helped me.
So you don't think you impacted anybody?
I like to hope that I do, but I don't. Education is so weird because you don't ever hear how good you're doing. And if you're looking for that, and I was just talking to my dad about this today, if you're looking for that, you should not be going into this field. Like, if you're looking for verbal confirmation all the time, which is something that is my love language, that's how I know I'm doing things right. If you're going to be looking for that in education, you got in the wrong field. Like, you never get told what you're doing right. You only get told what you're doing wrong. And it can be really grating, and it can be really difficult. And that is something I'm slowly but surely discovering, going through student teaching and working with the teacher that I'm working with, who's wonderful, but usually tends to focus on the more negative aspects. It's to help me get better. I know this, but it's so hard to hear sometimes. So when you do hear the positives, it's like a wave of emotion. You're like, oh my God, thank you. I had no idea I was doing good things. So
I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you feel a daunting amount of pressure to fill your dad's shoes going into the same profession as him?
No. And I can say I wouldn't give answers so confidently, but I absolutely do not feel that, because my dad taught in a different era than what I'm teaching in. Hell, I went through K-12 in a different era than what kids are going to go through now. Like, education is changing all the time. Teachers are going to change all the time. Like, my dad was saying, he didn't have a curriculum to follow or like week by week instructions. He had to make it up. I would be so screwed if I had to do that. The fact that I have
do you do like a rubric?
No, I have like a literal, and it's under my desk. Do you want to see it?
Sure. Show and tell time.
Oh my goodness. I have like an actual like reading curriculum that nice. Is like 3 weeks, based of like stuff. So we have like a sight word and a letter that we're learning. And we have like a story that we read through every day, and like a overall like essential question and the theme. My dad didn't have that when he was a teacher. And I couldn't imagine like crossing your fingers and hoping that a lesson goes well. But like the nice thing about having a book like that is like you can pick and choose like what you want to use and what will actually be helpful. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you think is right for your kids. And that decision does not weigh on anybody else. It weighs on you. Yeah. So you just got to trust that you know what you're doing. And it has taken me up until my last 2 weeks of student teaching to realize that I do know what I'm doing. And that I have this guidebook and I can use it and supplement where I need to.
Are you still in the process of learning confidence?
Am I still in the process of what?
Of learning confidence, self-confidence, self-esteem.
Yes.
I see. Okay, I get that vibe. What'd you say?
Okay, next question.
Okay. So going back to no, I'm just joking.
Well, no, I think that's something that everybody learns how to work through. And I feel like, especially when you're doing something new that you have not done before, because I worked as a teaching assistant before COVID, and then when COVID happened and we had to go to online, the teacher that I was working with at the time couldn't even figure out how to forward an email, let alone set up an online classroom. So I had to learn all that as well on the fly and be ready in 2 weeks when we go back, when we're starting digital. So that's what gave me the confidence. I'm like, I can do this in my own classroom if I ever had to, which is what caused me to go back to school. Also, losing my job caused me to go back to school mostly, but also the online learning and learning to do that on the fly and then teaching her how to do it so she wouldn't need me. I think she finally figured out how to add assignments on our last day of school. So
I love it.
doing that and learning through COVID gave me the confidence to feel like, okay, I can definitely do this if I had to. And I wanted to, and I still want to. I've wanted to I've been working at this degree for the past like 10 years. So.
Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot. So you mentioned you've touched on your teachers, ones who influenced you.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like going to, a school where you would only Pepper, looking for somebody to kind of say, "Oh, okay, I can relate to you," when it just wasn't there?
It was interesting. Like the number of teachers that I can count that had made an impact on me, I can count on like one hand. But it wasn't the teachers that were like, you're here, you have to learn, deal with it. It was the teachers that actually gave a shit about how I was feeling on any given day and would like actually check in with me, make sure I'm doing okay. Not just that I'm learning their stuff, but they're just like, how are you feeling today? Like, how are you? Are you having a good day? And I think people underestimate the kind of like the level of empathy it takes to do that when you're not a person of color and there's no possible way you can understand how I'm feeling, but they still take the time to ask. And that to me was really, it was the game changer that was like, okay, not all teachers are just like, here's the paper, do it. But like who that actually, cared. Like that made a difference. That made me want to do that for other students like me. That wasn't my initial goal going into teaching, and I didn't realize at the time how much that had impacted me until I started going through the process of becoming a teacher.
What's the best part of becoming a teacher? The process.
The process? Oh, definitely watching the light bulb moments in my kids. And I did it just the other day. I was sitting with one of my students and they were looking at they have like little miniature 100 charts. And she was counting to 100 and she was, doing touch to talk and like going along each number line. And when she did it, oh boy, the celebration we had, you would have thought she won the lottery. And I was so proud of her because at the beginning of the year, she couldn't even like write her numbers to 10. She kept writing her S's backwards. There's literally an S in her name. She has no reason to write it backwards. But like the fact that she went from that level to like being able to count to 100 without me aiding her. I did not help her at all. She had her number chart in front of her and she just, kept going and like having those moments of pride, knowing how much growth that these kids can go through. Because I did second grade before I did kindergarten. So the difference between the two grades is monumental in just 2 years. They learn so much. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, they do learn a lot. Look, kindergarten and second grade, they learn so much.
Yeah, you have kids, like they learn so much shit. It's ridiculous.
It's a lot, and it's so rewarding to watch them actually start to retain stuff.
Yeah, like we were doing testing earlier this week, and like I said, a kid a month ago could not get through all capital letters in their alphabet, and they got through. Well, they had 11 last month and they had 16 this month. And I told them, and they're like, oh, I only got a few more. But I'm like, hey, you're making progress, though. That's what matters. That is the only thing that matters. As long as you keep making progress and keep moving forward, that's all I care about. I don't give a damn about anything else. You're making progress. That's a win for me. I'm okay with that. So I think that as part of the process of becoming a teacher has been really rewarding and really fun for me. But
I like it.
And they're so cute and they're so fun. And I had a little kid. I'm going to keep talking about my kids for the next hour. So this is my last kid story.
No, it's not.
I had a little kid who was, again, had her number cards and she was counting 1 to 20. And she did it by herself. She didn't need me. And I'm like, you got this. You don't even need me. I'm going home. And she's like, but I do need you. My heart, not like it didn't break. It bloomed. It like blossomed. I'm like, these kids are just so amazing. They're so wonderful.
Teaching kindergarten must be the most thankless job on earth.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. I did not say that. I was just reading a quote. I think, again, kindergarten to second grade is when you learn
the most.
Everything.
Without a doubt. And like And I wouldn't say my job is thankless by any means. Like, it's rewarding in the ways that you wouldn't think it would be. And it is really disheartening in other ways. But it's not disheartening by any stretch of the imagination the kid's fault. It is because at this age, they're still learning how to be a student. They're learning the routine. They're learning how to like school, how to fall in love with school, how to fall in love with learning. And I think the most important part about being a teacher isn't how much can you shove in their brain. It's about building the relationships so that they can actually learn from you, because they can't learn anything from you if they don't like you. So,
yes.
Like, and
that rapport is
it's everything.
Super important. It's super important.
Yeah.
So we did our pre-interview like 5 years ago. No, we did our pre-interview, I want to say October and November, actually. It was a while ago. And you've had a lot of changes. Your life's been you've had a lot of goods, right?
Yes.
That's happened. What's been going on in the Sina life?
Well, the last time we talked, when we did that pre-interview, I was living at home.
Yeah.
And now I have this wonderful apartment in Eastern Washington, and living by myself, doing my I started my student teaching. I just been all the good changes, all the good things. Because Lord, living at home was difficult.
Oh, it's hard, especially when you get older and you're just used to doing it a certain way.
And what sucked about living at home, and there's a peach and pit of a situation. The pit was I was living at home. I felt like I had no independence. I felt like my parents were always up in my business, which they're supposed to. They're my parents. They're supposed to care about me. It's whatever. But the peach of living at home, especially through a pandemic, was actually feeling like I was cared for, if that makes any sense, or felt like my presence was wanted and not wanted at the same time. Like, they didn't mind being around me as much as I thought it was going to be, because usually my limit for living at home is like 6 months and then I'm out. But because I'm tired of it, I made it about 8 months before we started getting angry at each other. So I call that a win. But like, being able to spend that time with my parents and honestly like have conversations and get to know them on a deeper level was something that I will always value and always cherish. That time living at home with them. Would never do it again, but because honestly we do so much better when we're living apart. It's weird, like, but we did pretty okay living together this time around. It was definitely difficult. I will not say that we did not have our hardships and we did not butt heads, because I am my parents' child and I am a lot like them in that ways. And what's really dumb is the things that annoyed them about me are the things that about themselves they see in me. So like, I'm like, what do you want me to do? You're the ones that had a baby in the 90s and now she's an adult. You did this. Yep. You did this. I did nothing. I was just here.
I woke up like this.
Like this.
Mr. Nails had a quote last week, something to the effect that what you don't like in other people is usually something you don't like in yourself.
That is what my parents and I went through.
He was actually right for once. He's not usually right. Jimmy's usually always wrong, but he was actually right.
Jimmy says nice things.
I didn't say he didn't say nice things. I said he's always wrong. See, he knows. You said a big choice in your journey to Blackdom, and I'm being facetious, but was putting extensions in your hair.
Yeah, Lord. Okay, so it was, I want to say like November of I don't even know what year, but I put extensions in my hair. Something I never thought I would do. That was a 8-hour-long journey that ended up eating what I thought was going to be pad thai, but ended up being a cheese sandwich because my dog ate my pad thai in the car. But I didn't realize how good my hair could look sometimes. Like,
you have very nice hair, I must say.
Thank you. This is so much growth from the past few years, because like I said, life several years back was so stressful that there was a patch of hair back here that didn't even grow. And that came from stress and lack of me taking care of it because I was dealing with so much other stuff. You know, the grief process, it's fun. But when I put extensions in my hair, like, I think it was like right after I got out of school. So it was like 2018. And I people looked at me different. They were like, I really like your hair. And like my hair has been like the main like thorn in my paw since I was a kid. My mom and I have had many an argument over how my hair should look. And being able to like take that and like control how my hair should look was a huge thing for me because my confidence doesn't always have to stem from my hair, but it's definitely one of those like linchpin things where I'm like, if my hair looks like trash, I feel like trash. Even though it shouldn't be that way, it shouldn't matter. That's just kind of what was beat into me as a child, and I'm slowly working those knots out. But feeling that putting extensions in my hair allowed me to feel more comfortable in my own skin than I thought, and keeping my hair in braids definitely still makes me feel myself. You know what I mean? Like feel good.
We won't ask many questions,
okay.
But I will ask a question, possibly two, about your relationship that has. No, I'm just kidding. Your past relationship. I thought it was really interesting because it was an interracial relationship.
Yes.
And I think two of the quotes you said was, you called it matter to you guys. And you didn't walk through the world saying, oh, you know, we're in an interracial relationship. It was just a relationship.
What are you going to do? Yeah. It's weird because that was one of the other big changes was that I am now single. I am no longer in that interracial relationship, but I still, retain everything that I said. Like being in a relationship with a white person, it didn't really bother us because at the time we loved each other. I would argue that I still probably will always have love in my heart for him, but he can stay away from me though. But after that's how you feel after 6 years, like you'll always have love in your heart for that person. You'll always like want that person to be better off, but also realizing that you kind of won in that situation and you're the one that's going to be better off. Not a terrible thing to think.
No,
so
I had a growth just from the two conversations in you as a person.
Yeah.
In that you almost kind of like shedded what was, hard.
And what was expected of me too, because they're a very traditional family, and like women in the kitchen, men in the yard doing the yard work, and I would always be out in the yard doing the yard work because that's how I was raised. Like you help out wherever you need to help out at, not just specifically in the kitchen. It just so happens that I'm better in the kitchen than I am in the yard because I hate yard work, but I never let that stop me from like, hanging out with the boys in the yard because I grew up around mostly uncles and one aunt. So being around that environment never really bothered me. I think it kind of rubbed them the wrong way because they were used to having all the girls in the kitchen and I was missing out on all the hot goss and like all that. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't have the energy to put toward that. Like if like it just, I didn't care enough to like want to be in that conversation. I would much rather be out in the yard talking about cars and stuff. Like,
were you a town boy?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, like I said, I grew up with all uncles in my family. I had 5 uncles, and I grew up in a neighborhood full of boys, and I was the only girl. The other girls were several years older than me, so I didn't really get a chance to hang out with them or be friends with them all that much. And the other one girl was 3 years younger than me, so I hung out with my brother's friends all the time, as much as that annoyed him. So being around boys and having dude friends never really bothered them, or never really bothered me. It bothered the hell out of my brother, which God bless him. He is a saint. He's the most patient man I will ever meet in my life. But like, I don't have like the number of girlfriends I can count or that I have, I can count on one hand. Like really good friends that I, still have from like growing up and from school, like the few that I kept,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, pardon me. You say a lot that you knew you were different. So, at what
Yeah.
point did you know you were different? At
Oh,
what point did the light bulb go off? And you say, I feel like I'm different.
I don't know. I feel I was thinking about an answer to this because I was thinking about this interview. I've been thinking about it all week, and I was thinking about an answer to that question, and I had a really good answer, and I wished I wrote it down because it was definitely when I was younger, and it just like when kids would try to tell me that I'm not what I feel I am. I think that's
Mm.
when it kind of hit me, where it's like I'm not meant to fit in, and I don't feel like I was meant to stand out either, which is why I've been stressed out about this interview for the past week. But I don't think I was ever meant to be in the spotlight or meant to fit in with anybody. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with, lone wolfing it every once in a while or being sure of yourself before you want to be with other people. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like taking time to do that either. So
Well, you're in the spotlight every day. You're teaching.
which is really
And
stressful.
so when I work with, I'm a therapist. Sometimes I
Mhm.
play with TV. And I find working with people that you're not always going to know the impact that you have on someone, but
Yeah.
the words you say and the things you teach are going to resonate with somebody. Um, Never fit in, but don't want to stand out. Hits hard. Oof.
Yeah.
I
Because
always try. Go ahead, please,
I was
please.
always the person that wanted my friends to shine. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I casted my best friend in my one act, and she got nominated for Best Actress for our plays that year. And, like, that is what I wanted to do. I want her to shine. It's the same thing with my kids. I want them to shine. I want them to grow. I want them to thrive. I'll be just fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be okay. Like, doing what I do best, which is allowing other people to putting the spotlight on them, putting some shine on them, being their ultimate hype man. I think that's what I was born to be. I don't think anybody was born to be my hype man.
Hold on. Can you bring up Jimmy's question, please?
What was his question? Oh Lord.
You gave Sina the questions. I thought you said you made them up. Um, First of all, James, Mr. Gaines, I always give people a question or two, like I did you, sir, that I say, I'm going to ask you this question. I would like you to have an answer for it. Right, Miss Sina? Did you know any of the other questions?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, we in our pre-interview, you went
The
through like
pre-interview.
some gist of stuff you want to talk. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I love you.
Yeah, Jimmy. Like I said, always wrong. Boom. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, so as we have about 15 minutes left, as we have to end early because our darling engineer has other requirements, we're gonna go to some of the more fun stuff.
Okay.
You did say that your dad's part of the reason that you're a nerd. Please explain.
Yes. Because when we were talking about like influences and not realizing how the impact that he had, my dad's a big freaking nerd and I love it. Like when we were kids, like it wasn't, and I wish I had a picture of this. There's a picture of me and my brother standing next to Captain America. It wasn't us that wanted to take the picture. It was my dad wanting us to take the picture.
Oh, that's really
Like,
cool.
and like being able to talk about nerdy shit with my dad has been the most amazing thing about the MCU being a thing. It's because like I think when he was, when we were kids, especially, he was like very like he was a hard, angry black man. That's what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be dad. He was supposed to be the tough one,
Mm-hmm.
like bash heads when he needs to, or in my case, throw pillows when he needs to, like,
Mm-hmm.
the classics. But like now that we are adults and like the nerdy stuff that we loved as a kid was also the same stuff that he loved as a kid, it has brought my brother and my dad and I so much closer together. Like when it was a couple years ago, like probably before I graduated college, there was the Marvel exhibit was up in Seattle. My brother drove his happy ass up from Portland. I drove my ass from Ellensburg, and we all went to the exhibit together and like just had so much fun, like geeking out and like taking pictures and like doing all that stuff. And like we would not have been able to have that much fun as when we were kids because my dad was my dad and now he's my dad. And we can like talk about that stuff, like, and like geek out about stuff. He was just texting me earlier. He's like, I watched what did he watch? I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. Can you explain something to me? And like he'll text me nerdy questions and I will text him nerdy responses. Or like if we're watching, like when we were at home, that was a nice thing about being at home was we got to watch all the MCU shows that came out this past year. And we were watching WandaVision, and of course I'd already binge watched it. But he was like, as he was watching, he was commenting on it, and he's like, "Oh, that Hayward's no good. I know he's no good. I read it in the comics." I'm like, "See, this is great." Like the amount of influence he had on us without us really knowing it until we got to adulthood was huge, especially in the nerd world. Like there is a picture of the four of us at Comic-Con together, and all four of us dressed up, and like it was so much fun. That's my dad's a giant nerd. He loved reading comics as a kid, and I don't think he realized how much that would impact his children because now this is the stuff that my brother and I are obsessed with. As you can tell from the MCU match, which, spoiler alert, I won. Without cheating.
Oh, I thought, you might have cheated. But that's neither here nor there. I do want to touch on the influence that Black Panther had on you and how you felt like it moved you. Generally, and then specifically, I want to talk about Shuri and Valkyrie, who are two of your peeps.
They're my people.
Well, I know Valkyrie's not. I know Valkyrie's not in Black Panther.
No, but if there is a picture on the internet of me at Comic-Con somewhere a couple years ago, I have dressed up as Valkyrie. Because, like I said, we didn't have those kind of shows when we were growing up. We had The Proud Family, we had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and we had Family Matters, and that was about it. That was about it. Like, that's all I remember from my childhood. So to have a person of color, a Black person, be at the forefront of a superhero movie and have little kids dress up as Black Panther for Comic-Con, have my grown-ass adult dad dress up as Black Panther at Comic-Con and have little kids freak the hell out is just, it's everything and then some. Like, it is so hard to put into words how much of an impact that movie and Chadwick Boseman had because it is insurmountable. It is, even though he unfortunately has passed away, his legacy will not die because of that movie. And that is something I am eternally grateful for because other little Black kids like myself are going to grow up and see that movie and be like, yes, I can do that. I can do the thing. I can be a superhero. I can kick some butt. I can be Wakandan. Like, it's great. It's so good.
I love it. I love all this dad love. That is one thing that I didn't. Me and my dad like similar things sometimes, but he wasn't big into like writing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He would ask me questions like about stuff, but he wasn't big into, like, he wasn't a nerd like that, which I'm not a huge nerd. I dabble in the nerddom.
You dabble. I saw you in the Batman match in that match.
When Matt cheated and he smacked me, but that's okay.
That's okay. Excuse me, sorry.
Music, theater, singing, thespian. Let's talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Wakanda forever, Mr. Nails. I'll give it up for you.
Absolutely.
So, how long have you been into theater and the singing? Do you sing? Do you play instruments? Do you do all of that? Are you a one-man band woman?
I feel like you know the answer to this question. Somehow I feel like you know the answer to this question. I have been doing theater since I was in elementary school, so probably like first or second grade. And then I played piano when I was a kid. I did percussion and played like drums and stuff. I was the only one that could actually read like music, not just rhythms and taps. So I usually ended up playing like the marimbas or the chimes or anything with like the mallet instruments. I do sing. I've been singing for that long as well. So yeah. I am multifaceted in that way. It's yeah, singing is one of the few things that I feel like can confidently say I do well.
Singing or
yes,
theater?
Singing. I feel like I'm a better singer than I am an actor, which is weird because usually they would go hand in hand. But no, I'm trained in musical theater and I'm a trained first soprano.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, you gonna sing for us?
No.
Okay.
If you have me come back.
Oh, you'll be back.
I don't even know what I would sing.
That's all right.
Right now.
That's what we do our. Excuse me. That's what our next interview will be. Our next discussion.
I'm just gonna sing for an hour.
You can sing for an hour if you want.
I could sing a little bit now just so I can get it over with.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of a song that I know off the top of my head. You're not gonna let me turn off my camera, are you?
No. How about we have it for next time, and then you can prepare.
Okay.
Because I feel like you would thrive being prepared.
I've thrived unprepared too. You remember that mentor I was telling you about from college? She didn't believe me, and then I started singing Moon River, and like she was like, "What?"
Jimmy Nails wants to hear a couple of notes, a couple of lines from Moon River.
Okay. I'm drinking my ginger ale to get prepared.
We're gonna duet. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Moon River, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday. Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. And that's it.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I see you. Put some musical notes in the chat for Sina. So,
like I said, I put spotlight on other people, not on myself.
That's okay. We'll change that. So, as we round out our questions, next question: what does 2016 mean to you?
You can tell from my face. 2016.
You can sum it up.
The worst year of my life. For so many reasons, not the least of which was I got broken up with, I got kicked out of school, and was academically suspended from college. I lost my best friend. My grandma died. What else? What other shitty things happened that year?
Leave that up, Matt, because she can see.
What's up? I was just recalling.
You got the voice of an angel, Jimmy said.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yup. Yeah. I see you. I
sing, y'all. It's like I said, it's one of the few things where I'm like, I could do that well. It's weird. Like, I'm nervous to teach a basic reading lesson in front of my kids, but like singing in front of them, I have zero problem with.
That's all. But that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Owning your gifts. Embracing them, Miss Bigelow.
Thank you.
This is a conversation that we've had ongoing.
Yes.
Last two questions.
Okay.
Last two questions. If you could be any superhero or supervillain, who would you be and why? You could be either one, or you could have both.
I don't think I would consider myself a hero. I'm a sidekick.
You could be any superhero or supervillain, who would you be and why?
I don't know.
Fury Valkyrie.
Obviously Valkyrie. I ride for Valkyrie always because she's so fierce and awesome and enjoys a good beverage, as do I. I became an amateur mixologist throughout the pandemic, so living, like I said, living at home has its perks.
Mm-hmm.
That was the last. Oh, that was another crappy thing that happened in 2016. I had to go back home because I was kicked out of school. Definitely, I definitely lean toward Valkyrie 100% because she's like I said, still trying to figure out who she is and how she fits into this world, and that's something that I really, sit with and emulate from, and like that's something that I can relate to a lot. So, and she's a badass. Not to mention.
Yeah, Tessa Thomas is cute too.
Yeah, she is.
Last question.
Okay.
What does Sina mean?
Like the meaning of my name?
Yeah. Yes, Sina.
I was actually named after one of my dad's old students. So he had a student in his class named Sina, and I was named after her. I think, to me, like my name, the meaning that I perceived over the past 20 some odd years, is someone who will. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to learn the hard way. I'm going to bump my head into a wall a lot, even though I did it the first time and I could just avoid that wall, but I'm gonna run into another wall because that's just how my life works. But I'm not the type of person that is gonna quit or tap out or be like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's not in my blood. My parents didn't do it. My grandma didn't do it. I can't do it. It's not an option for me to quit. But like it is not the only option, even when I want to quit, is I'm gonna cry about it. Don't get me wrong. I will cry about it. I'll be frustrated, but I'm not gonna quit. I don't have that choice. Like I gotta figure it out some way. Like, and that's been what these past few months living by myself has been, is me just figuring it out and like powering through a bunch of stuff that I don't talk about. But not because they're hard to talk about, just because I haven't had the time to focus on them because I'm focusing on other stuff. When I do, and when I have that time to talk about it, you will be my first phone call.
Yes, on Everyday Experts. I love it. So, I thank you for making time for us today in your busy schedule.
Of course, my busy day of doing nothing.
Today.
Today. Tomorrow I work, but
exactly. Yes. So I'm going to end with a couple of things. So housekeeping. For February, we tentatively have Hambone, Justin Hollywood Hambone, on the 5th, and Mr. Ryan Payne is coming to discuss how Sina cheated February 19th. So
Ryan knows I didn't cheat.
I know. I need you to stay there. Don't go anywhere. And as a brilliant scholar told me, I'm allowed to have a seat in the room. That's a quote by Miss Sina Bigelow. And that sums it up very nicely. So, as I always say, be an anomaly. Joker out.